Rick Lagina has just confirmed what treasure hunters have waited centuries to hear. Beneath the bedrock of Oak Island, an ancient Templar vault has finally been discovered. Hidden deep below the original money pit, investigators have uncovered stone chambers, ornate metal relics, and inscriptions directly tied to the Knights Templar. For generations, experts dismissed the Oak Island mystery as legend, a myth lost to time. But new ground-penetrating scans, sealed manuscripts, and verified footage now suggest the Laginas have uncovered something very real and world-changing. This discovery doesn't just close the Oak Island mystery, it reveals a secret buried for more than 700 years. The announcement came quietly, almost too quietly considering its importance. After months of sonar mapping and failed boreholes, Rick's team finally hit something that defied every expectation. About 180 feet below the swamp zone, they found a perfectly sealed void, a chamber that didn't appear in any previous excavation data. According to geological models, it shouldn't even exist. Yet there it was, a hidden cavity carved into the bedrock, directly beneath a tunnel aligned with the original money pit. For Rick, this wasn't just another dig site. It was the anomaly they'd been chasing for years, the one clue that never fit the pattern. The first scans of the site were unlike anything they'd seen before. Metallic density readings were far too strong for natural rock, and the formations were too deliberate to be a coincidence. It wasn't debris or collapse, it was structured, layered, and designed. Even more remarkable, it ran parallel to a secondary shaft not recorded on any 18th century recovery maps. That was the first undeniable sign. This structure wasn't made by early settlers or prospectors. It had been engineered centuries earlier. Rick's first words when the readings appeared were caught on camera. This could be the original vault. When the team finally broke through the chamber's outer seal, the sight left them speechless. The walls were hand-carved stone, worn smooth by water and time. At the base of the entryway lay a limestone slab no larger than a door, etched with a symbol no one mistook for coincidence, a weathered cross pate, the same emblem used by the Knights Templar. The carving wasn't recent. Erosion marks proved it had endured for centuries. Later carbon dating confirmed Rick's suspicion. The tablet was older than any colonial settlement, predating even the earliest European maps of the region. What amazed researchers even more was the preservation. The stone had been sealed with marine clay, a sophisticated technique used to prevent saltwater corrosion. Whoever built this chamber had a knowledge of geology and engineering far beyond their time. Along one edge of the slab, nearly hidden under mineral buildup, was a series of etched symbols, lines and markings that archaeologists later discovered matched those in Scotland's Rosslyn Chapel, a site long associated with Templar legends. When Marty Lagina saw the comparison, his reaction said it all. This was no longer theory. It was the first physical proof linking the Templar migration directly to Oak Island. The connection was no longer abstract. It was real, carved in stone, and preserved beneath layers of mud for 6 centuries. But what came next was even more astonishing. As the team continued deeper into the bedrock chamber, radar scans revealed something extraordinary. Metallic signals repeating in perfect intervals, forming a pattern too uniform to be natural. The data showed rows and shapes too precise to be boulders or debris. Realizing the significance, Rick ordered a micro-drill probe, a delicate operation to collect trace material without disturbing the chamber. What they were about to uncover, he knew, could rewrite everything we thought we knew about Oak Island, and the secret the Templars took to their graves. When the drill finally came back up, the sample tray told a story all its own. It held traces of quartz dust mixed with fine golden particles, not raw, natural gold, but refined and worked by human hands. The metal had been hammered, melted, and shaped long ago, the kind of craftsmanship found in ancient relics rather than coins or currency. For the first time in years, Rick Lagina set aside his usual caution and said the words that would echo through every Oak Island discussion around the world. We may not be chasing legend anymore, we're standing over it. That single line changed everything. If the gold buried beneath Oak Island had been refined centuries before Europeans ever reached Nova Scotia, then this was no longer just a treasure hunt. It had become a quest for lost knowledge. The team needed answers, not from the soil, but from history itself. Deep within the French naval archives in La Rochelle, a forgotten 1701 chart surfaced during a review of colonial trade routes. Fragile and faded, the map bore a name that made Rick and Marty freeze the instant they saw it. L'Île Perdue, the island of lost gold. When researchers adjusted the coordinates for centuries of magnetic drift, the island's outline matched Oak Island almost perfectly. But the true shock came from the notes scrawled in the map's margins, a cryptic mix of Latin and Old French referencing l'Opera du Temple, or the coffers of the temple, sealed beneath layers of engineered trapstone designed to collapse if disturbed. When the brothers compared the sketch with their excavation data, the resemblance was uncanny. The chamber they had just breached aligned almost exactly with the central deposit shown on the ancient chart. Marty called it an impossible coincidence, but Rick wasn't so sure. Someone in France had drawn that map centuries before Oak Island even appeared in recorded history. That could only mean one thing. The secret of the vault had survived long after the fall of the Knights Templar, possibly carried across the Atlantic by exiled sailors fleeing persecution, taking fragments of the Order's hidden treasure with them. The team's research soon pointed to a single name, crossed out repeatedly in old French port records: La Rochelle's ghost, a ship said to have vanished during the Templar Purge of 1307. Some historians believed it escaped under a false name and disappeared into the western seas. The newly uncovered map seemed to confirm it, hinting that Oak Island wasn't random at all, but the final destination of a deliberate voyage. A sanctuary for something the French crown was never meant to find. Back underground, the dig pressed on. As workers cleared layers of sediment from a newly mapped tunnel, one of them noticed a faint glimmer caught in the limestone. What first looked like a piece of wire turned out to be a fragment of a small brass chain, fused into the rock like a fossil. When cleaned and magnified, the chain's links revealed intricate engravings, each shaped into the unmistakable cross of the Knights Templar. This wasn't jewelry, it was ceremonial regalia, likely part of the ornate chains worn by high-ranking knights. Laboratory analysis confirmed it wasn't colonial or modern. The metal alloy matched 13th century French metallurgy, identical to chains found in Templar burial sites near Poitiers. Every detail, from the soldering technique to the purity of the metal, pointed directly to medieval Europe. The implications were staggering. The artifact predated any recorded European presence in the New World by more than 150 years. That single chain fragment alone could rewrite Oak Island's entire history. But what the team uncovered beneath it would change everything once again. As they carefully cleared away the soil surrounding the find, they unearthed a small lead container, light enough to hold in both hands, yet so fragile it seemed ready to crumble. Its seams were sealed with wax and resin, the edges finely tooled by hand. Inside, preserved by centuries of oxygen-starved mud, rested a folded fragment of parchment still clinging to a thin layer of wax. A message, perhaps, from the very hands of history itself. When conservators carefully unrolled the fragile parchment under strict humidity control, faint black ink began to appear, flowing lines of medieval French script whispering across the centuries. As the words took shape, the translation sent a chill through the room. The text spoke of l'Arche Grande, the Great Ark, and warned of le secret sous la rose, the secret beneath the rose. These phrases weren't random. Both were known Templar code terms. The Great Ark referred to sacred relics taken from Jerusalem, while the rose symbolized the veil of secrecy protecting divine knowledge. Paleographers compared the handwriting with documented samples from France's Archives Nationales, written by clerks of the Templar Order. One match stood out, a scribe active in Paris until the exact day the order was condemned in 1307. That connection placed the parchment squarely in the era of the last Templar Grand Master. But the most extraordinary revelation came next. Using infrared imaging, linguists noticed faint variations in the first letters of each line. When combined, they formed an acrostic reading Domus Dei, Latin for House of God. To Templar scholars, this phrase meant more than piety. It referred to the Order's inner sanctum, the place where their most sacred relics were protected before disappearing from Europe entirely. Rick stood silently over the translation table before finally speaking. "Whoever buried this didn't want it discovered," he said quietly. "They wanted it remembered, but only by those who knew how to see it. The chain, the parchment, the map. None of it was coincidence. Together, they formed a single, deliberate trail stretching from medieval France across the Atlantic, ending beneath the swamps of Nova Scotia. To the Laginas, the message was unmistakable. The vault wasn't a myth. It was intentional, built, guarded, and concealed for reasons far beyond mere treasure. That realization shifted everything. The evidence wasn't just historical, it was technical. Whoever created these clues had mastered engineering, navigation, and concealment centuries ahead of their time. If the artifacts were designed to lead the team to this point, then the structure itself had likely been designed to keep everyone else out. Acting on that logic, the crew recalibrated their borehole coordinates and began testing just beyond the vault's alignment. What they found next defied every earlier survey. The new chamber wasn't made of rough stone or collapsed earth. It was engineered. As the drill penetrated deeper, the borehole camera revealed something astonishing. A lattice of wood and brass woven directly through the bedrock. This was no natural formation. It was deliberate construction, a defense mechanism. The timbers were fitted with brass pulleys and water valves arranged in a cross pattern, forming a complex counterweight system similar to those used in ancient ship rigging. Every movement was connected to another, creating a precise mechanical web. One wrong move, and the entire chamber would either flood or collapse. Whoever built it hadn't intended to preserve the vault. They intended to protect it. The craftsmanship seemed far too advanced for the 1300s, yet every joint, every angle, every fitting reflected remarkable precision. Maritime engineers later confirmed that the design matched medieval naval pulley systems once used to raise anchors and stabilize ship cargo. That detail led to one haunting conclusion. The builders weren't ordinary stonemasons. They were Templar sailors, men who fled Europe by sea and used their shipbuilding expertise to construct a hidden fortress beneath the earth. For Rick, this discovery changed everything. The Oak Island vault wasn't random. It was nautical in nature, built by seafarers to conceal something never meant to resurface. As the team cautiously cleared the debris, Rick's words over the comms captured the unease perfectly. This isn't a vault made to be found. It's one built to destroy itself if anyone ever tried. The room fell silent. The words lingered, heavy with the realization that Oak Island's greatest mystery might have been designed to remain just that. A secret meant to outlast time itself. Before long, even the crew began referring to it as the Guardian Mechanism, a fitting name for the deadly, intelligent design they were now trying to outsmart. Every twist of a drill, every movement of the bore tool felt like a wager with history itself. Each vibration was tracked in real time to prevent a catastrophic chain reaction. Yet the team didn't realize that this intricate mechanism was only half of the puzzle. The other half lay above ground. Using advanced LAR imaging to map the island's surface, the team discovered something extraordinary. Hidden beneath layers of brush and uneven terrain was a network of precisely drilled stone markers. These weren't random boulders or glacial leftovers. They had been placed deliberately, forming a geometric pattern that stretched from Smith's Cove to the Money Pit and across to the swamp. When plotted digitally, the alignment revealed a perfect symmetrical cross. It wasn't just a symbol, it was a blueprint. Each intersection aligned exactly with a known dig site or subsurface anomaly once thought to be natural. When Marty connected the coordinates and rotated the model into a celestial orientation, the outline mirrored the constellation Orion with astonishing accuracy. The same star pattern appeared in ancient Templar navigation charts. It couldn't be coincidence. The Templars had encoded the vault's layout using the heavens themselves, a celestial map hidden in Oak Island's geography, designed so that only those who understood the stars could ever unlock its secret. Rick stood silently as the digital image stabilized on the screen. The Money Pit, Smith's Cove, and the newly uncovered vault all corresponded perfectly to the 3 brightest stars in Orion's belt. The realization hit like a tidal wave. Oak Island wasn't merely a hiding place. It was an instrument. A celestial code carved into the earth, where every shaft, chamber, and artifact was part of a grand design protecting one central chamber. What they'd always believed to be treasure might actually be just the surface of something far greater, a design created with sacred precision. When excavation resumed along the newly charted cross alignment, the drill broke through into another cavity. This chamber wasn't reinforced with timber like those before it. Its walls were lined with smooth, polished limestone. At the center stood an arched stone gate, sealed tight, carved with a breathtaking emblem. A single rose in full bloom, surrounded by vines and intersecting crosses. The carving wasn't decorative. It was identical to the Rossi Cross, an emblem later adopted by the Rosicrucians, a secretive society many historians believe descended from the surviving Knights Templar. The gate's placement erased any remaining doubt. This was the entrance to the central vault, the heart of everything Oak Island had been built to protect. Even before anyone touched it, scanners confirmed what waited beyond. Metal density readings spiked higher than anything the team had ever recorded. Dense, structured, and perfectly enclosed. Whatever was sealed behind that rose-carved gate was metallic, and there was a massive amount of it. The magnetometer struggled to maintain a stable reading. The sheer concentration of gold and alloy distorted the signal itself. The volume was so immense it could have outweighed the entire Money Pit hoard many times over. For the first time, the data left no room for speculation. This wasn't myth or wishful thinking. It was real. The readings revealed a dense, solid cache. Coffers, chests, perhaps dozens of them, packed tightly within a sealed stone chamber. Rick immediately called for all manual drilling to stop. No one dared risk triggering another Guardian collapse. Conservation experts were brought in without delay. Equipped with micro cameras and non-invasive imaging tools, they carefully threaded a fiber optic lens through a borehole barely wider than a pencil into the space beyond the Rose Gate. The live feed flickered to life, revealing a narrow corridor lined with smooth limestone and filled with centuries of silt. As the lens adjusted to the darkness, a faint glimmer appeared, a flash of reflected light from something below. The crew froze. The reflection wasn't random. Something solid, something deliberate, was waiting in the shadows beyond the gate. It was gold, unmistakable under the camera's LED beam, its glow soft and ancient. The longer the lens lingered, the more flashes appeared, ripples of reflected light glimmering from buried objects. It wasn't a single artifact, it was many. Dozens, maybe hundreds. A sealed chamber of gold, untouched for more than 6 centuries, hidden beneath the carved rose. Rick said nothing, but his expression said everything. Awe, disbelief, and a quiet recognition that what they had found was not just treasure, but truth. A message forged in stone, geometry, and faith. For centuries, Oak Island's legend had been one of riddles, false starts, and failure by design. But as the camera focused deeper into the glowing chamber, the truth began to emerge. The island had never been protecting gold for greed's sake. It had been guarding a purpose, a secret meant to endure. As the image sharpened, the golden gleam softened into clear forms and patterns. The light revealed not chaos, but order, objects carefully arranged with intention. And at the very center of the chamber stood something distinct. It wasn't a chest or a pile of coins. It was sculpted, an ornate chalice resting upright on a limestone pedestal. Even through the murky feed, its shape was unmistakable. A wide bowl, a flared rim, and a stem wrapped in delicate vine motifs. Days later, when the extraction team finally recovered the chalice, silence filled the room. It was heavier than anyone expected, and its surface didn't shine with the sharp brilliance of ordinary gold. Instead, it emitted a soft, radiant warmth, the hue of something older, purer. Laboratory analysis confirmed the impossible. The chalice had been forged from Byzantine gold blended with Frankish silver, a metallurgical combination unseen since the 12th century. Every curve and etched line spoke of unity between two worlds, East and West, joined not through conquest, but through faith, artistry, and secrecy. Under magnification, an inscription appeared along the inner rim, written in elegant Latin, Veritas sub rosa, truth under the rose. The phrase was unmistakably Templar, their sacred vow of silence, used in confessions suppressed by the French crown after the order's fall. It symbolized truths sworn under the rose, never to be spoken aloud. The meaning weighed heavily on everyone present. This wasn't just a relic, it was a declaration, an oath preserved in gold through centuries of silence. Rick finally broke the stillness. "This could be the artifact they died to protect," he murmured. No one responded. Every camera in the room stayed fixed on the chalice, its shadow stretching across centuries of myth and mystery. News of the discovery spread quickly. Within weeks, official communication arrived from the Vatican's Department of Sacred Antiquities. They requested high-resolution images, metallurgical reports, and provenance data. The tone was unmistakably formal, deliberate, and classified. Rick's team complied, forwarding all documentation through the appropriate archaeological channels. Days later, a representative from the Vatican's historical office contacted them directly. His statement stunned everyone. The chalice's dimensions and inscriptions matched a missing reliquary listed in papal records from 1312, an object believed lost when the Templar archives were seized and destroyed. According to those ancient inventories, the reliquary had once contained relic fragments said to originate from the early church in Jerusalem, possibly artifacts carried west during the Crusades. It was last recorded under the guardianship of the Templar Order's Grand Preceptor of France, shortly before the arrests and executions began. After that, the trail vanished. For more than 600 years, the relic had been considered lost to history, until it resurfaced beneath a small island in Nova Scotia. The Vatican's interest was immediate and serious. They proposed a joint investigation under international heritage law. Legal representatives from Canada, France, and the Holy See convened to determine ownership, preservation, and custodial rights. The Oak Island mystery had officially crossed from television speculation into global diplomatic reality. By law, any artifact predating colonial settlement, especially one with European and ecclesiastical ties, could fall under shared international custody. The treasure was no longer just a legend. It was history, and history had come alive. Religious relics brought an entirely new dimension to the discovery, one of spiritual jurisdiction. The chalice was no longer just a historical artifact, it was sacred property, bound by religious significance. Marty summed it up in one sentence. This just became bigger than Oak Island. It's global now. Overnight, the dig site transformed from a treasure hunt into a high-security archaeological fortress. Security was tightened, legal observers arrived, and media access was shut down. Every artifact, soil sample, and data file was sealed under strict chain of custody protocols. Amid the growing political and legal commotion, Rick's focus never wavered. He wasn't concerned with ownership or fame. He wanted understanding, meaning, proof of purpose. That proof surfaced quietly from an artifact the team had nearly forgotten. The limestone Templar tablet unearthed at the chamber's entrance months earlier. A visiting epigrapher proposed re-examining the tablet under full-spectrum infrared light. When they did, faint inscriptions appeared beneath the visible carvings, lines and symbols previously invisible to the naked eye. They weren't decorative at all. They were coordinates, but not for Nova Scotia. When cross-referenced with modern maps, the coordinates pointed deep into the North Atlantic, to an isolated, largely uncharted landmass more than 1,200 kilometers away. Alongside the markings was a Latin inscription, Hic est arca minor, arma ultra est. Translation, this is the lesser vault, the greater lies beyond. The meaning hit instantly. Everything discovered on Oak Island, The tunnels, the traps, the gold, even the chalice, wasn't the end of the story. It was a waypoint, a map. Rick spread copies of the parchment and carvings across the table, comparing the symbols on the tablet with those engraved along the chalice's rim. The rose motif appeared again and again, linking both artifacts together. It couldn't be coincidence. The rose wasn't just a symbol, it was the cipher, the key. Sub rosa, under the rose, wasn't merely a Templar phrase for secrecy, it was literal. The rose carved into Oak Island stone wasn't decorative, it was directional, a marker pointing towards something greater beyond. When the team overlaid the LAR imaging map of Oak Island's geometric cross with the new coordinates, a chilling realization took shape. The same celestial alignment that mirrored the constellation Orion above Nova Scotia extended seamlessly across the ocean toward another point on the globe. The pattern wasn't broken, it was unfinished. Oak Island represented only one half of a vast celestial design, a mirrored constellation pointing toward its twin on the far side of the Atlantic. Historians revisited the old accounts of the Templar fleet's disappearance. Some ships were documented, others vanished without a trace. What if they hadn't been lost at all? What if the fleet had divided, half remaining behind to construct the lesser vault, while the others sailed onward to build the greater vault, ensuring the Order's most sacred relics could never be captured by any king or crown? The chalice, it turned out, wasn't the end of the mystery. It was proof of continuity, of intention, of design. A tangible link between two sanctuaries, built in silence across an ocean, connected by the same language of stars, stone, and faith.